Got a big update for you on how Democrats already managing to screw literally everything up. So you'll recall, as we've been talking about here, in the Georgia Senate races, Democrats made two really specific promises. One, that they would get you $2,000 checks, and two, that those checks would go out immediately. Well, we already know that they've sort of reneged on those $2,000 checks. They've brought that down to $1,400 with this technocratic BS explanation of, oh, well, you already got $600, so we're just going to add $1,400 on top of that. You can see Kamala Harris, the way that she's changed her language here to now it's rather than $2,000 checks, which was the message, it's we will finish the job of getting a total of $2,000 in cash relief to people who need it the most. Well, now they're also apparently going back on their promise to get that lesser amount of cash out the door immediately. This is from Jake Sherman over now at Punchbowl. Democrats are apparently planning on waiting until March in order to get their relief bill together. What? And by the way, impeachment, not an excuse here, because they haven't even, to my knowledge, sent the articles of impeachment over to the Senate. They're only planning a few-day trial. So why don't you have your act together with a COVID relief bill ready to go? It absolutely blows my mind. And just to remind you of the way that Democrats were talking in Georgia, let's take a listen to Joe Biden on the ground campaigning in that state.
By electing John and the Reverend, you can make an immediate difference in your own lives, the lives of the people all across this country, because their election will put an end to the block in Washington on that $2,000 stimulus check, that money that will go out the door immediately, tell people who are in real trouble.
$2,000 stimulus checks. That money will go out the door immediately. Super simple, super straightforward, super potent politically. It is probably the single largest reason that they ended up winning both of those seats in Georgia. And now suddenly they're walking back on both of those promises. Like,
crazy.
Trump has set the lowest bar possible for Democrats. It would be so easy for them to deliver something real and direct and quickly that people can go, oh my God, we actually have a government that's capable of doing something now. And they're already blowing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Krystal, we were just talking about the FDR presidency, and I was talking, Biden literally is comparing himself to FDR. He has a portrait now of FDR in his office. Well, I've got it right in front of me. FDR took office on March 4th, 1933. On March 9th, Congress passed the Emergency Banking Act. In his first 100 days, he passed 15 pieces of legislation. Okay, Democrats had a supermajority in the Senate and all of that. Great. But where is the legislation on the Senate floor right now? $2,000 checks. Marco Rubio already said, if you put it forward on the first day, I will vote for it. All you need is him, Hawley, and I think, 5 other U.S. senators, all of whom have said that they would vote. And now you have the Democrats from Georgia. You don't even need that many Republican votes in order to come over to pass this thing. I guarantee you that the votes are actually there. Take them up on their offer. Just pass it immediately. It would be, for number one, a sign of bipartisanship. Number two, the country actually needs it. And three, what the hell are you doing in the interim? I'm watching very closely for what they're actually going to try and pass through Congress. We don't actually have any indication. So Biden sent his immigration plan. Obviously, it's dead on arrival. It's not going to get 60 votes. The other thing that I heard is that they might pass something about the Dreamers. And okay, the Dreamers is popular legislation, but that doesn't mean that it's, that's not the same thing as anything on healthcare or checks. And worse, it's going to start another culture war thing. Why would you ramp up the culture wars for the next 2 months and then wait in order to pass COVID relief? By that time, it's dead. Any hope of bipartisanship, you're going to have it's Joe Biden wants open borders. Joe Biden wants this. And the Fox machine will be totally revved up. And it's done. And to the extent that there's any bipartisanship hope whatsoever, it's literally right now. There's never been more goodwill for Joe Biden as president. He's probably never had a better opportunity. What the hell are they doing in Congress? They need to send legislation on COVID relief immediately. Like yesterday, I was literally saying, like, keep them awake. Don't even let them go to sleep past the $2,000 check. If they can vote on nominations, they can vote for unanimous consent and pass a $2,000 check to every American citizen. Why wouldn't you want to begin your presidency that way? It's just completely insane.
And this goes to a lack of urgency and attention on economic relief that we have seen through this entire crisis, because the vast majority, like 99% of the people in the House and in the Senate, are completely disconnected from the amount of pain that is out there right now, because it has been so bifurcated, because it has fallen so disproportionately on the poor and the working class, disproportionately Black and brown. Like, they are completely disconnected from that pain. And so for them, they're like, we'll get to it in March.
Yep.
We need to take our time. We want to make sure we go through the process and figure it out. No, you should have had a bill ready to go on day one. It truly blows my mind. And look, I want to be fair. There is some dissent reportedly within the caucus about this strategy. You do have people who are making this argument that you're making, that I agree with, of, hey, listen, you can wait on some of this other stuff. Just get the checks, because the checks are real and tangible, make a huge difference to a whole lot of people. And also, they give you that, if you want that bipartisan win out of the gates, that's one thing where you could actually legitimately get that bipartisan win. And then a lot of the other things that they're proposing, they could get through budget reconciliation. So you wouldn't need the full 60, votes with 10 Republicans to come on board ultimately to get that passed. To me, that seems like the obvious direction to go in here. And I mean, you and I both, it seems so obvious to both of us that in these initial days, you should be focused on dealing with COVID, getting the vaccines out, and getting cash in people's hands. That's it. You do that, and you are so popular. You are set for the midterms. You have like 60 or 70% approval ratings. And it seems so clear and so blatantly obvious, but they're managing to screw this up. So it actually makes me reassess, like, I was thinking, Biden may actually have pretty good approval rating and maybe pretty popular, even though over the long term, without dealing with these structural issues, it's ultimately going to be a disaster. It's ultimately going to lead us back right around to the same ugly place, with Trump only worse and probably more competent. But in the short term, this could work politically. Now they're even blowing that like obvious short-term political layup. And I honestly can't believe it.
No, it's crazy. Look, we cover this for a living. I don't know what legislation is on the floor of the U.S. Senate, which is the priority of the new administration. That's a crime on their part. What are you doing? Like, why are you not passing this? Can you think of a better opportunity for a contrast to the Trump era? You pass a $2,000 check in like 24 hours, right? Hold an Oval Office ceremony, drag Marco Rubio and anybody else from the Republican side who voted for it, sign it, and give out pens to bipartisan, and put that picture on the front page of every newspaper in the country. People will be like, whoa, this is they actually passed something, work together. That would be the ultimate contrast to the Trump era. If you really want to go towards bipartisanship, and if Biden really does want to have 75% approval rating, he's pretty high right now. He's floating well, 68, but that's a soft 68 that can fall dramatically. Wait, turn up the culture war and see how fast that drops into the 50s, and you're right back into Obama territory, and then it's over. We're literally we're going to be ruled by executive order, as we both know, which is, not good enough in terms of trying to do major legislation. And I just think that, it's a tremendous mistake if they don't wise up. Now, look, maybe they will. Yesterday, the press secretary, Jen Psaki, she told the reporters, she's like, look, I think the Senate can do two things at the same time. We'll see about, economic relief and all of that. So I think they're not ruling out or in any timeline, but Jake Sherman knows what he's talking about. And if he's saying mid-March, forget it. I mean, the country is going to be, I can't even conceive of what we're going to look like 2 months from now, especially with partisan warfare that ramps up. And then we're just done. All opportunities of working are actually done.
Yeah, it's completely insane. And, I really want Joe Biden to prove me wrong. I really want him to prove me wrong. So far, every bit of cynicism that I've had has been completely rewarded, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah.
All right, Sagar, looking forward to hearing from you. That's next.